I want to make a video here. I had a chance to take the 10mm Zastava out for some shooting, so I'm going to do a after shooting report on it. This is the model M93, which is a Tokarev copy in 10mm auto. And to start off with, it was 100% reliable with the 10mm ammunition. I was using Remington UMC 180 grain full metal jackets, and they're pretty much the full house load, and they work fine. There was no problem with them. There is a few issues shooting this gun, and first off, I would say that shooting this gun is like shooting a snub nose revolver or like a micro or subcompact pistol. It seems to be too small of a gun for that powerful of a cartridge. It doesn't jump around in your hands like crazy. Like, you can hold on to it, but it really hammers you in the web of your hand in this area back here. And so I'm going to go over some of the cons with it. The pros are just basically it's a typical Tokarev, so was 100% reliable, and everything worked on it the way I guess it should work. The cons I'll go over with first was some of the minor things, like this piece here, this little clip that retains the slide stop. It actually started to work its way back, sort of off of the front pin here. And I'm not sure if anybody else who has one of these has experienced the same thing, but if you look, the little like it's sort of like it's supposed to sort of hook around this front pin, and on mine it doesn't seem to want to go all the way around it. And so I don't know if that's because of the clip, or it's just because the round is so powerful it was just pushing it off of the pin. But it's an easy thing to fix. Like, I would just file this little piece off, and so it goes around the slide stop pin here just a little more snug. But that was one issue that the gun had. Another issue is with the trigger. Like, I know that the Tokarev trigger isn't like the best in the world, even though it's a bowed trigger. It's nothing like a 1911 bowed trigger. But when you're firing it, it seems to I don't know what I would call it. The constant trigger pull, like it seems to drift. Not so much the weight of it, but just the way it feels when you're pulling the trigger. It feels different, and it really is hard to sort of master it, because you're getting a different trigger pull all the time, and it's kind of annoying. I don't know if that will break in later as I shoot more, but that's one thing that makes it very hard to shoot, and that's sort of why I compare it to, say, a snub nose or a very micro compact gun that's hard to master. Next, like, I'll go on to the worst aspect later, but next I would say is this little piece here on the magazine. The grip is slightly larger, this frame, because like the Yugoslav guns have the extra round in them, so it actually has a longer frame. So I would think most people's hands would fit it perfectly fine. It's not the shorter Tokarev grip, but this little piece here, whenever you're firing, when your hand sort of you kind of choke up on the gun, and your hand sort of goes on this part if you're using a two-handed grip, and it stabs you right in the hand as the gun goes back like this. This piece goes forward, and it jams you in the hand, like in the bottom of your hand, and it's quite annoying. And I don't know if I would think I would replace this with a normal Tokarev base plate, because I think it's although it won't slip out of your hand, it doesn't feel like it's going to, and I think this is more of a hindrance than it is a good idea on the gun. So that's one negative thing that is actually quite painful. The other thing is the sights on this gun. The back is really wide open, and it makes it hard to shoot at long range. And this is kind of a personal preference thing. Like, if you look at them, this slot here is so wide, and it's more of something that I would think you would use for close shooting or defensive type shooting. I don't see it. Well, I had quite a bit of trouble shooting it at long range with those sights, and I don't like a lot of air in my sights at all anyways. So it's kind of a preference. If you like having all that air in your sights, it might be okay for you. But myself, I don't like that. And so it's sort of either you'll like it or you hate it. It's not really a fault of the gun, but that's just how that is. The worst part of the gun, which I don't know why they made the gun like this, but these grips they're basically useless. They are, of all the guns I've ever shot in my life, I think these are the worst grips I have ever had on a gun. And it's not just because this is a 10mm auto pistol and it has quite a bit of force, because you can manage it, but with these grips, it's terrible. They are very, very slick. There's no traction whatsoever to them. And also, they made them ambidextrous. They have finger grooves on both sides, like on this side and the other. Like the other one's just a mirror copy of it, and it's just awful. Like you can't get a good purchase on the gun. Your hand seems to, every time you take a shot, because of the powerful cartridge and that, you slip, and you can't get a constant grip on it. And even at one point, because of the slickness, I actually tripped the slide stop and the slide lock back. And I've never had that happen on any other pistols. I know some people with their styles of shooting, they will do that once in a while. But the way I hold my guns and that, I've never had that happen before. And it happened on this pistol, and it's just because of these grips. And also, if I show here, you can see on the Tokarev how the bore, like how the bore line is so high, and when you're holding it, you have all this extra like meat right here. It's almost like a 1/4 inch thick, these grips, and it's almost like if you were holding a different pistol, it would feel like you were holding it like way down here and shooting it, and it makes it just very hard to shoot. I understand the reason why they did it was because it's to dampen the recoil of the 10mm, but after shooting it, the recoil, it's just, you get that impulse right here in your hand and a little bit on your wrist. And like, I was even tempted at the range to take these grips off of the gun and just shoot it with no grips at all, because they're just terrible. They're more in the way than they are anything else. And I've already ordered a set of standard military grips to put on this gun, because I find them to be, even if I have to put a little pain on my hand shooting, I would rather shoot with those and be able to have a constant grip on the gun properly. These grips are just like a zero to me. I mean, if you have one of these and you like them or something, you can leave a comment and just explain to me why, because I really dislike these grips. Now, I'm just giving the cons because I'm sure more people want to know some of the drawbacks to it than anything else, because it is a Tokarev. It's completely reliable and actually has a nicer magazine release. It's a little slightly larger than the normal Tokarev, and it's a fairly compact pistol, which again makes it a little hard to shoot at longer range, which is kind of why I like the 10mm cartridge, because it's gonna give you a little more accuracy, a little more power at longer range. But this gun, for practical use, I'd say this is more of a defensive type pistol, and it just like, I wouldn't say it's a combat pistol. I'd say it's a defensive pistol, and it just shoots sort of like a compact pistol. It doesn't feel like a full-size gun. Now, once I replace the grips with the normal plastic panel grips, I want to shoot it again and see if it makes any difference in the shooting, because I really didn't find the 10mm cartridge to be too powerful. It might be a little bit powerful for this gun, but it isn't too powerful that you can't hang on to it or anything. So the gun itself is an excellent gun. It's well built, and all the parts on it, everything is machined pretty nicely for what it is. This gun here runs about the sub $500 mark, and you might be able to get it used a little cheaper because they're just new here now. Even though this gun was made in 1996, they're new old stock here. I don't know how they were found or brought here, why it took them so long to export these guns, but that's neither here nor there, really. The gun is excellent, reliable, but I would say this is a defensive type pistol, and it's definitely a more close range type shooting pistol. And I highly recommend, if you're going to stick with these grips, do something to them to put some checkering on here, or put skateboard tape, or just even wrap them. I was going to wrap them with hockey tape, but then because of the thickness of them, with this, like I showed here with this piece, you can wrap them with something, and all you're going to do is kind of make them more and more kind of annoying to hang on to. So I'll just wrap up my video and say it's a good gun. It's definitely worth the money, but having it in 10mm, I don't know if it's actually an advantage, because it's only going to shoot as well as the other tokarevs in 7.62 or in 9mm. The 10mm, I don't see an advantage to having it, but it is fun. It is kind of fun to shoot it in a different sort of overpowered cartridge. So anyways, I just thought I would make that review on the pistol. So other than that, thank you for watching.